Hello, welcome to the show. So I have a very special treat today. I have Rachel Cruze on. She's a two-time #1 bestselling author and financial expert who has been helping people win with money at Ramsey Solutions since 2010. As the host of the Rachel Cruze Show and co-host of Smart Money Happy Hour, Rachel has been inspiring audiences alongside her dad, Dave Ramsey, since the age of 15. In today's episode, Rachel will share crucial tips on what to do before quitting a job. So get ready for some powerful wisdom because you do not want to miss this episode. Welcome to Monetize Your Passion. If you're a mom ready to turn your God-given passions into a fulfilling work-from-home career or grow your online brand, you are in the right place. I'm Tara Lon, celebrity blogger, content creator, and passion and purpose coach. I'm here to help you use your talents to create fulfilling, money-making opportunities. My prayer is that you'll find inspiration from God, encouragement, and practical ways to monetize your passion. Hi, Rachel. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm excited to hear your expertise, so let's dive in.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Yes, so before we really get started, I really want to know how you got to where you are today. Can you just give us a little bit of background on your journey and, the passions growing up and what led you to where you are right now?
Yes. Yeah, it's a good question because I look back and it's so interesting when you look back on your story and see so many doors that just open, right? And you're like, oh, that's what kind of has caused me to come here. So I started speaking when I was 15 with my dad, Dave Ramsey, at his events. And so speaking early on, I really enjoyed. And I remember some adults around just saying that's a really unique thing to enjoy because most people hate public speaking. And so the fact that you're comfortable with it, that's a great thing to have in life. So I was like, okay. So I kind of kept that in the back of my mind. And then when I went to college, I went to the University of Tennessee. I started, realizing this need for the message that I grew up with. And so understanding that, I grew up with principles of live on less than you make, avoid debts, budget, be generous, save for things you want. I mean, it's kind of these common sense principles with money. And for the first time in my life, interacting with people my age that were doing the opposite of that and realizing, oh gosh, they're not doing it because they're, dumb or something. They're doing it because they have no clue on how to handle their money. And that was the moment I realized, okay, I could really speak into this next generation when it comes to handling money. And so when I graduated, my dad, had Ramsey Solutions going and a radio show and all of this stuff happening along the same topic. And so I just sat down with him and my mom and I was like, you know what, I would love to travel and speak to high school students and college students about how to avoid some of the mistakes that they're about to make possibly in their 20s and 30s and how to get ahead financially faster than maybe even their parents did. Because my parents, they filed for bankruptcy the year I was born. And so my whole, journey growing up was understanding how to avoid some of these mistakes, that my parents made and them teaching us as kids this proper viewpoint of money. So all that just kind of came to a head and it was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And so that was about 15 years ago. And, since then, as I got married, I have 3 kids now. My message has kind of grown with me throughout these years. So now it's not high school students that I speak to anymore. It's, adults and all of it. So then now there's podcasts and books and events and get to chat with great podcast hosts like yourself. And so just getting to help people really understand how money works, how they can control their money, and ultimately get peace at the end of the day, because it's a topic that can cause a lot of stress and anxiety for people. So yeah, that was kind of the big stepping stones of here today, but a lot of trial and error, a lot of mistakes, a lot of, doing things on a small scale that ended up, becoming on a larger scale, which was great. And yeah, so that's kind of what led me here today.
That's awesome. I feel like there's so much in that story. And one of them is building your brand. Like I see that you started building your brand not even knowing you were building a brand, like when you were really young. It's so funny you mentioned traveling with your dad because my husband and I think maybe 15 years ago, we saw him speak somewhere and we remember you were there. You were very young speaking.
Yes.
We're thinking, wow, look at this is so awesome. He has his daughter here doing similar things as him. So that's awesome that it's kind of coming full circle like this.
Yeah, that's so great. What city were you guys in? Do you remember?
I think it was Nashville. It was for
Okay.
sort of conference. I
Yeah,
don't even
totally.
remember
Oh,
it,
how
but we've
funny.
also gone through the financial peace program through our
Oh,
church
yes.
with yeah. So I think it's awesome what you're doing because we always say the same thing. We think more young people need to hear this message, get their finances in
Yes.
order. And so that's great. That's a great story.
Yes. Well, thank you. Yeah. And it was interesting too, because I'm kind of under the same umbrella as him from a topic standpoint, teaching about money and the same principles and everything, but really learning really in my mid 20s of how to, make my voice and my messaging more mine and not his.
Right.
And so that was a whole kind of journey of realizing like I'm not a balding 60-year-old man. Like that's not me. I'm like
Right.
young and fun and like to shop and all of it. So what were the struggles, that I had? Because I was really in the trenches of life with babies and trying to work and, create something within Ramsey Solutions. And so understanding that so many other women and people out there, they feel the same way. And I know that's what you talk about a lot, is kind of starting something, even from the ground up in a way and transitioning to different types of businesses that you start. So it's kind of in the same vein in a sense, but it's
Yeah.
always it's a hard, difficult journey, but a freeing one too.
Yes, absolutely. Which takes us to our topic because there's a lot of moms who are listening who are working moms, whether they work in corporate America or another job, but they're trying to build their business, they're trying to build their brand on the side. Some of them actually want to leave their job, but they don't really know even where to start. And I know this is
Yeah.
a big conversation, there's a lot of elements to it. So just from a practical standpoint, like if a mom came to you and said, what is the one thing that I need to think about before I even consider leaving this job? Like, what would you think that would be?
Well, for one case, I mean, the finances is going to be a big part of this, right? So when you're shifting to something new or something that you may not know or that's not proven, you want to make sure that financially your household can sustain that. And so that's one of the big things is understanding, okay, if you're growing something on the side, are you able to monetize it to the point that you can jump from your main career to that? But also, I would tell that mom too, because I went through a season of working that after I had my third child, this was about 5 years ago, where I felt this major tug of like pulling back from work some and being home more and being more present. And it was this weird feeling. I talked to a couple of other working moms in a similar space that I'm in. And one of them said, which I so appreciate these words, she said, women just don't feel like that they can go off, have an off ramp for a season and
Yeah.
then get back on. It's this feeling of like, I have to stay in the grind. And if I somehow exit for a season, I don't know if I can get back on. And that's a lie. You can get back on. Like you can. And life may look different for you, but I would say, to the point that you can, if you have this feeling and this urge to change and do something differently, lean into that in a really deep way because it could take you on a new path that you don't even know exists.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what were you just for your own journey? Like, how did you handle it during that season for you 5 years ago?
Yes. Well, and I know I'm in a different position in a sense that, we're in a family owned business and I know not everyone has the ability to have flexibility always. But I just said, yeah, for a couple of years, I want to just do things that are more outward facing, meaning like I want to keep my podcast going. I want to keep my show going, my social media. I want to keep the brand still there because I still want to help people and I still want to be plugged in at some level. But I was doing a lot of back end work with my position. And I said, if I can delegate a lot of that, because we have a great team at Ramsey and, there's so many support roles, which is so helpful. And so I just said, if I can just delegate more of those responsibilities to these teams to help, and that's everything from content development and titling and like all these things that the team was really capable of doing, but I was still holding on to and letting that stuff go for a season and just doing, the things that I wanted to do from the front end, the more the public facing to keep the brand going. And so that just meant less hours in the office. That was being home more. It meant longer days when I was in the office. I think I would rather, work a 10-hour day, like on a Monday to be able to be home, Tuesday and Wednesday and not have to be in the meetings I was in. And so that was for a season. It's picked back up now. It looks different than it did, but I was so thankful for that. And I thought, in my everything kind of slowed down from a brand's perspective as well. There was some growth, but it was a little bit stagnant. And there was some, contentment issues I had to deal with within myself, seeing other people, you know, write books that hit the New York Times bestseller list, or they're launching podcasts that are in the top, 20 of all podcasts. Like you're seeing people grow around you. And I'm like, oh man, but I'm choosing, and I've made the intentional step to say, hey, I'm going to keep things going, but I'm not in a season of growth right now because I don't have the time or the energy, and I want to put it somewhere else. And so kind of making that intentional decision was so helpful. And I'm so glad I did. But also it came with some wrestling of dying to the ego as you're growing something. You're like, other people are passing me, but that's okay because I have a whole life ahead of me. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, I think that's so profound that you said that, because there's some moms that need to hear that, because there may be a season where parts of their business is not growing, but they're probably growing in other areas of their life and not even
Yes.
realizing it. So I think that's actually a very powerful message. So getting back to that mom who is, she doesn't even know how to budget. Let's just start there. Let's say she's working a job just from a budgeting standpoint. Like, how should she even start there when she's thinking about leaving her job?
Well, understanding where your money's going every single month is really crucial. So I always tell people to start with the four walls. So know how much you're spending in rent or your mortgage, utilities, transportation, so gas for your car, insurance, or if you do public transportation, knowing how much that is, and then food. So this is groceries, this is restaurants, all of it. So these are kind of your basic blocks of your budget. And then everything else underneath you want to prioritize. So think about insurance that you have to pay for. If you're paying for childcare, put that in there. Miscellaneous things that come up, have a miscellaneous category. Just list all these categories that you spend money on. And then I would go back to last month's expenses and just go back to your checking account last month and just add up roughly. You don't have to be so precise. How much you spend on groceries, how much did you spend on going out to eat, how much did you spend on gas, how much is childcare, and just fill in those categories with numbers. And then the goal is for your income coming in is going to fill out all of that. So you're going to put a dollar with your your income comes in, and you're going to know specifically dollar amounts with these categories. And you can include giving and saving as a category as well. But the goal is your income minus all of those expenses equals zero. So every dollar coming in is assigned to a category. So that's the very basics of, zero-based budgeting. And that's going to help you understand, okay, what do I need to make in order to keep our household afloat? And mostly those four walls that we talked about at the beginning of the budget, like food, shelter, utilities, transportation, those have to be covered. And then everything else underneath, let's prioritize. And maybe for a season, you're like, okay, I can make, $2,000 less a month, $1,000 less a month, and we can keep afloat while I grow this business. And that's a starting point to know, okay, we can maybe transition this. But if you don't know what your numbers are and you don't know where your income's going, number one, you're probably spending more than you realize. But also, number two, it's really hard to plan. So the more concrete you have these numbers of what it takes to run your household, the more peace you're going to have in the decision of possibly stepping away from that full-time job into something else.
Yeah, that's really good. And there may be some listening, maybe they've started a side business or a side hustle. Let's say they've made some decent money for a couple of months and they're thinking, okay, well, I don't know what the third month is going to look like. Should I risk leaving my job? Like, do you have any thoughts there as far as like when they should actually take that leap?
I would want to be able to know that, yeah, from a consistent standpoint, that it's not seasonal. So I'm more probably conservative. So I would like at least probably 9 months or so of knowing like, okay, this is consistent, because, something could be great for 2 or 3 months. And maybe even the effort that's put in, you start to lose maybe the passion to do it. Maybe it's a seasonal thing and you realize, oh, wow, May, June, and July, it just tanks. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting this type of revenue. So I think that gives you some seasonality and some longevity to see a pattern of your business. Now, again, that 9 months, that's not a hard and fast rule. I think you can kind of gauge it, but I would rather people be more on the conservative end, because again, one of my whole premises of life is like, what creates peace in your life? Like, what can you do where it's just not this stress point? And there's seasons of stress and anxiety, all day long, but where can we minimize that and have a level of control where we can? And that's what I see when it comes to transitioning from a full-time job to, stepping off. It's kind of that visual of a boat and a dock. You want it close enough that you can have another foot in and you're kind of teeter-totting and,
Right.
finally you'll make the step. But if you're trying to jump off the dock to reach the boat, it may be a little risky.
Yeah, I think there's so many moms that are in a position where they're just not satisfied. They just feel depleted or depressed or whatever. So they're maybe wanting to take that risk sooner. And, maybe it's not a good idea, but they don't feel that peace, like you mentioned, in their job. So they're just,
Yeah,
looking to take a risk when, maybe it's
totally.
just not the right time.
Yes. Well, yeah, and I think too when you look to see, okay, maybe we put we save up, an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. We do some things within the household that create some padding as well, so that if you do take a risk or you do jump off, that that you're not sinking the whole ship, right? You're not creating this crisis within your life. But you're able to say, okay, yeah, we've created some padding and some planning around this. That makes it, I think, a wiser choice. Now,
Yeah.
there are some people that I know too. I'll say on the opposite end of that. That's a little bit where I lean. But I mean, I do know people and they're like, God told me he's going to do it and I'm leaving and
Mhm.
I'm following. So I'm like, if there's a spiritual conviction in there or there's something that you're like, I can't say no to, I don't want to be the one saying, oh no, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But over time, I think that there's some wisdom in having patience. I think there's
Yeah.
wisdom and a level of delayed gratification of taking your time as well. So that's a little bit where I lean naturally when it comes to these really big decisions, right? For your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know you have great tips as far as the padding. Can you think of any, like how someone could save up or, think of strategic ways to bring in money or save money? Are you ready to get serious about your business in 2025? Well, I'm looking for a handful of motivated moms to join my 6-week group coaching program starting in January. It also comes with 2 personalized one-on-one coaching sessions. Now, this is a new beta program that I've created after rebranding this year and conducting research over the past several months. I've prayed for the right people to join, and I truly believe this program is designed to help you turn your God-led passion and expertise into a profitable and purposeful online business. So for $497, this is what you'll get: clarity on your passion and purpose, a step-by-step blueprint to create your offer, branding guidance to define your unique identity, organic marketing strategies, including how to pitch yourself to the media for increased visibility, ways to monetize your passion, plus goal setting for long-term success. So if you're ready to take action, build something meaningful, and create an income doing what you truly love, then this is for you. You'll be joining the program at the ground level, so if you're interested, fill out the coaching application in the show notes.
So again, when you go back to the budget, that's going to be number one, because when you start actually filling out some of these categories, you're going to realize, oh, wow, we're paying for 17 subscriptions and we're only using 4 of them. Well, there's money back. You're going to see how much you spending out to eat. And it's going to be a lot. If you have not been tracking how much you spend at restaurants, just buckle up, because I think everyone feels this feeling of like, oh my gosh, food is so expensive these days,
Yeah.
and especially going out to eat. So maybe that's a category where you say, you know what, we're going to pull back from that and save some money to get some margin there. Speaking of food, groceries, it is so expensive today, but even where you shop can make a big difference. You
Yeah.
can save hundreds of dollars a month by shopping at Aldi versus Whole Foods, right? I mean, like there's some choices you can make along your expenses that will help save money, but also the income side is really big. So, there are a lot of great side hustles in our world today that create a lot of money for people. And I find that those are the most lucrative when you go straight to the end user, meaning, it's tutoring, it's house sitting, it's dog sitting, it's, a piano teacher. Like when you're able to go straight to your clients and not have a middleman, like Uber, for instance, they're kind of that middleman of a company. It's still a great idea, but if you have something that you're good at, that you can go straight to that customer and it's just you and that customer, you're going to make more, we find, long term.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I talk about like side hustles and side passions too. I talk about like coaching and mentoring, and the same thing. You go straight to that end user.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
And there's actually a lot of platforms which allows you to actually do that. You can teach and tutor and, do all kinds of
Yes.
things. So I'm glad you
Which
mentioned
is
that.
Yeah, which I'm so thankful for. I mean, you think about our world today with technology, and I feel like people kind of beat up on the internet sometimes because it's not always a great thing. But there are, I mean, more than ever, there's such opportunity to make money doing what you love. I mean, it is unbelievable. So even to your point, I'm like, all the platforms and things out there, use that to your advantage. Because we didn't have that 20 years ago, right? I mean, like when people were starting stuff like that, this world didn't exist. So use it to your advantage.
Yeah. Now, what would you say to the mom who, because these are all businesses that they're starting, whether it's a side hustle, whatever it is, they're starting their own business. Now, what would you say to that mom who, she's been in the 9 to 5 and she hasn't started a business, as far as, what that looks like versus working that traditional 9 to 5, like some of the differences in like expectations? Like, can you speak a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think, when you're not in that traditional 9 to 5, you're going to have more flexibility, which is great. And usually you end up being your own boss, which if you're not great at time management, right, there's a little bit of that red flag of knowing you're going to have to put some structures in place. And this was my husband. He left his job about a year and a half ago and is flipping houses. I mean, he's doing something kind of completely different, but he loves it. But he's like, gosh, I wake up on Mondays and I don't have to be anywhere. So there's like this level of accountability. You have to create structure to make sure that you're still being productive. And also that you just kind of, I mean, I think you can go through a season of just enjoying maybe a little bit of like downtime. But over time, in order to create something, if you're leaving that 9 to 5 to create, more of a side hustle type income, you do have to have that structure in place. So that's probably my number one thing. When you're leaving a traditional role, you have to be able to have the proactiveness to create an environment where you're going to be able to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that, just growing up with your dad, Dave Ramsey, like what are some lessons, like some really important lessons that your dad implemented in your life? And I know your siblings are also doing similar things as you, right? Like you all kind of have that financial background.
Yes, yes. My sister runs our family foundation. So all of mom and dad's giving, she kind of oversees all of that. And then my brother is here at Ramsey Solutions, and he just actually became president earlier this year. So
Wow.
he's been, taking over a lot of the business ops side of Ramsey. And that's been great. I mean, he's done a fantastic job. So so we're all a little bit kind of intertwined through it all. But I would say, I think one of the things mom and dad did is they did a great job at still implementing a level of grit with all of us that we had to work. I mean, we're talking about work on this podcast, but that was a really big pillar of my life growing up. It was either that we're traveling to events like what you saw and you're working the back book table to we worked the shipping department. I babysat all the time. I worked in the mall. Like we always had to have some level of producing. And we had to start our own businesses when we were in high school. So my sister and I started like the snack business at his office, and it was called Your Integrity Snacks. So you had to like
Wow.
put money in, and he made us do like a profit and loss statement. Like, we had to sit there and like fill out a form every week. And anyways, it's these like moments that I look back and I'm like, I am just so thankful that, there is some level of understanding and having the dignity of producing something. And for some women, maybe they're stay-at-home moms and they're, they're not working, or maybe they want to start a side hustle. But even that is such hard work, right? So I'm like, this idea that as a grown-up, you're moving and shaking all the time. Like you're having to constantly know what's going on and be on top of things. And there's just that level of intentionality that I really think was produced through work ethic growing up. And so that's one big thing. And understanding that money comes from work. Money doesn't just come from mom and dad's back pocket. So that was a big factor and principle in our life growing up. And then, I think the second thing mom and dad did a great job is they put money in its proper place in our life. Growing up, as Dave's kid, a lot of people think we were like obsessed with money, or all we did was talk about money. And the truth is we really didn't. And mom and dad, even though this was his job, that he talked about money all day, every day as we were growing up, it was still in this place that money is not going to solve all your issues. Money is not the thing that's the answer, that if I just made X amount of money, everything's going to be okay, right? It's this idea that, money is a tool. It is amoral. It's not good or bad, but your motivation as the person handling the money is everything. And so your character, who you are as a generous person, a person of gratitude and humility, like that's what shapes your life. And money is a tool just to create a life that you want and that you love. It's not the end game. And I think for a lot of people that are really driven, even entrepreneurs, right? It's like this, and I have this in me where I'm very like utilitarian. I'm like, okay, we'll do this and this. There's like it feels like a scorecard, right? And in a sense, that's great and it's motivating, but it can be all consuming if that's your entire life 24/7. And so putting money in its proper place and how it functions in your life is really key. And they did a really great job of modeling that.
I love that. And I could see the work ethic because I see how you put out your content, whether it's on your social media, your podcast. Like, I feel like you do it with excellence. Like,
Oh,
I
thank
truly see
you.
that, you know. And I always try to encourage moms and even my kids to pursue their passions. And I encourage moms to make sure you're encouraging your kids to pursue their passions. So is that
Yes.
something that you think that Dave has instilled in you as far as in your own kids, like encouraging them to pursue the things that God put in their heart? And how do you do that? Like, how do you encourage them to pursue the things that they're interested in?
Yes. Yeah. It's a great question. And I hope that is what I do because, I have a 9, 7, and 5-year-old. So they're still a little young, but you already can see their strengths. Like I can
Yes.
already pinpoint things in them that I'm like, you are so good at that. Like my oldest, it is like, she's a typical firstborn, but I'm like, man, her ability for detail, her ability for follow through of doing things really well in the right way. Like all of that is so in her. And I'm like, that is going to take her places that is so needed in life, right? So it's these character qualities where my second born, I mean, we laugh like her emotional range is like this big. I mean, like it's like she is, so sad one minute and then the most happy, fun kid the other, right? Like you get every aspect of her. But with that, she's like one of the best empathizers I've ever met. She can read a room with people and she's 7 years old, but I'm like, she can walk in and be like, Mom, what's wrong? I'm like, what? And she's like, she just reads a room. It's unbelievable. So I'm like, her people skills is going to be phenomenal. So yeah, so I see these elements of them already that I'm like, gosh, that is such a gifting because it comes so naturally. That was not something that we like instilled in them. So it'll be fun to see, as they get older and start, becoming teenagers and stuff of like how that is directed. And that's my hope too, is that yeah, we encourage them. And you're probably more of an expert on this than I am, but encouraging them in those giftings of what they can do, even, when they launch into the real world to enjoy their life. Because I think when you're using your gifts and you're being yourself, it's a much more enjoyable life. And if you get paid to do that and do something you love, like that's the ultimate, right?
Yeah. And speaking of gifts, I read your wonderful book. I'm glad when I can share, which is
Oh, thank
amazing.
you.
Like it was really touching, even though it's a children's book. Like I saw a lot of lessons that adults can learn from. Now, what was
Yes,
the
no, yeah.
motivation for this book? Because it's not necessarily financial related. I mean, even though I'm sure you can, find a way to relate it. But what was your motivation for it?
Sure. Well, this was my third one. I was doing a series of three. And I was just thinking about the topics in life and money that are more, not as tangible as like, saving and spending, but it's more the emotions around money. So contentment, gratitude, and generosity were the three that I was focusing on. So this is the third one. This is the generosity one, but I took a
Okay.
sharing angle because it's little kids, that it's being read to. And sharing's kind of that first step of giving, learning to live life with an open hand and, let people in your life with your stuff and your money, because that's part of the joy. I mean, truly giving creates such joy that other things just don't create. And so when I can start teaching my kids and encouraging them to live with an open hand, I mean, that's everything. So that's it. And I'm so glad you said that about the message because each of the kids' books, I was like, I want the reader, whether it's, a mom or a grandparent or a babysitter, when they end each book, I'm like, I want the message to touch their heart in like a really light way, but just to be like, I needed that reminder, like just some
Yeah.
encouragement for that. So yeah, it's been an exciting project to be able to release these. And I just, yeah, but the latest one, yes, is I'm glad when I can share. And it's been so fun.
I really felt that when I read it. I felt that, okay, I can see how adults like reading it to their children will also be impacted positively with this message.
So glad you enjoyed it. So thanks for
Yeah, it's
reading it.
also very good quality. Those pages is
Yes. Well,
very
the
good
pages
quality.
I made thick. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I know. No,
Yeah.
no ripping pages here. Thick
Yeah.
pages. Really
So these are
important.
perfect gifts. I'll just say that, like for the holidays. It's perfect.
Thank you. Yes.
So as we end, thank you so much, Rachel, for being here. Is there any last things that you want to say or a message to get out to moms that are, just wanting to do their own thing, but, maybe they're struggling and they really are passionate about wanting to pursue their side passions and hustles?
Yes. I would say don't ignore that voice in you. I think we all have an instinct, and especially as moms, I'll give us a little bit more credit. There's just something in there. We can say it's the Holy Spirit. You can say it's your gut, whatever it is. But when you hear something or feel something, listen to that. And it may not happen tomorrow, right? There may be some patience in a season of building and getting that firm foundation under you. But listen to that. Don't ignore that. And and it's tough. I mean, I'll just say, like, being a mom and working, whether it's a 9 to 5, whether it's a side hustle, or maybe you're home with your kids, like whatever season of life you're in, wherever you are location wise, it's a lot. Us moms, we juggle a lot, and there's a lot pulling at us. And so, there's that's the reality. And so I always want moms to feel like, gosh, it can look a certain way, maybe on social media or something, that people have it all together. But I think we're all a hot mess, and we're all figuring out and navigating this life together. So you're not alone in it. But if there is that voice in you, keep listening to it and keep taking that next step.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for being here today. Now, where can people find you if they want to buy the book, know more about you, Dave Ramsey and what he does, just all the stuff?
Yes, you can go to rachelcruze.com or ramseysolutions.com. I also have a podcast and a YouTube channel. I'm on all the socials. And the book you can go to ramseysolutions.com or anywhere books are sold to buy the children's books.
As always, thank you so much for listening today. If you know of another mom who could use this episode, will you do me a favor and share this with her? As you know, my platform is meant to be a blessing to mothers, so any support from you would be so appreciated. Until next time.